Hey guys, welcome to Coaching with Chris. I'm so excited because I get to interview a guy that I have just known for a long time. In fact, the very funniest story was how we connected in 2003. We came to work together in 2005. He's built a great business. He's trained some of the most amazing loan officers. He's coached for me. He is truly what I call a good friend, but an amazing partner to have alongside. And so, Kevin, welcome to Coaching with Chris.
Hey, Chris, glad to be here, man.
You look like you're dressed for the Antarctic. What's going on?
Yeah, it's well, I'm not in Arizona like you. I am in South Dakota, and it has suddenly turned a little bit more Antarctic than what we're used to the last few days. So yeah, man, I got my vest on. We're in hoodie weather. All is good.
I told my wife I'm in good shape. I'm perfect sweater shape right now. I love it.
Yeah, it's right on schedule, I'd say.
I was in South Dakota yesterday, of all things, and it did look like it was sleeting.
Yeah, it was nasty. It was just total torrential rain for the last couple of days. Cold, nasty. I bet you couldn't get on that plane fast enough.
So if we can get loans in this type of weather, in this type of environment, you can get loans anywhere, right?
Exactly right. Exactly right. Yeah, there's no reason for anybody to be out going to an open house right now, but they're still doing it.
Yeah. Well, how was your week? How was this week for you in activity?
Yeah, it's a challenge right now. I think it's a challenge for everybody right now. We've been trying to just focus on. You said the word activity. Activity that's always breeds activity. So we're trying to just dig in and make sure that we keep our feet moving. Seems like everything's a little weird right now, and some of the stuff that we would have said no to a couple of years ago, suddenly like, let's take another look at that. We're trying to reach back out to all of our people, and just keep everybody close right now. And honestly, it's a lot of it has to do, especially with agent partners. They're scared, and just trying to give some rays of hope and keep things positive. That's kind of been our focus here this week.
So before we get kind of into the meat and potatoes, a little bit about your story, which I love, which is how you started in mortgage.
So I started in mortgage. A few people might know this story. Basically, I had a strange business. I made marching band shows. That was kind of our family business. I come from a family of musicians, and not a lot of money in marching bands. I'm not sure if it's not exactly a growth industry. And so I had this company. I was like 20 some years old, and we were making these shows for people all over the country. We were losing money every month. And basically every dime that was coming in, I was just floating back into the business to keep it afloat. So my wife got mad at me. She was working as a nurse, and she said, you actually have to get a real job, And so we had a big fight, and I literally opened the newspaper and pointed to the first job that I saw, which was to be a telemarketer for a mortgage company in Rochester, Minnesota. And she stood there with her arms folded until I called the number, and they said, yeah, you can come in and get an interview. I'd never been to a job interview before. I had this business I was running, but I'd never actually gone in. So I polished my shoes. I had a suit on. I was ready to go, and it was for a telemarketing job, So I go in there, the guy's in like a tracksuit. He's like, I don't know if you'd fit in here. I said, well, I'm supposed to get a job. So, can you train me? So they said, yep. And I'll never forget this, man. I'm not sure if I even ever told you this story before, but the first day they had this class of like maybe 25 telemarketing people, and the first day they had this like hotel ballroom opened up, and they are like little conference room. We're all sitting there, and this 6 foot something red-haired guy, double-breasted suit, comes like timeshare salesman, like that's how he was trained, like super hardcore sales. He strides to the front of the room. He turns around, he looks over the room. He goes, well, for roughly half the people in this room, the next 2 weeks are going to be the hardest 2 weeks of your life before you quit. That's how he opened, And then he said, maybe 1 or 2 of you might make a career out of this. And I guess I was in the 1 or 2 category. So that was 26 years ago. And got the tap to be a loan officer after calling people every night for about a year, just thickening my skin as a telemarketer, and worked out to be a manager of that shop, and then signed on with you. Luckily, man, it's been wow, man. We've been together for
Long
what,
time.
18 years, 17 years, something like that.
Yeah, oh 05 maybe.
Yeah, 05, 06, something like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Now, for those of you, hiring Kevin, coming from running a branch, been in mortgage quite a long time at that time in '05. And I just knew that I wanted to be able to work alongside Kevin. I didn't know what it would look like. I didn't know how we could be able to structure it. And we sat in an Italian restaurant and strategized that plan with some crayons, the crayons. And then a few years ago, Kevin actually gave me that crayon drawing that we did together. And now I have it framed in my office. That's how much that baby means to me.
our comp plan on
Our
crayon.
comp plan.
Yeah,
Yeah, and of course, comp plans back then, everything was based on
a little
profit.
different, right?
I think is still the best model. And I know that there's everybody converting profit to basis points anyway, so I don't. Who knows? They,
Right.
maybe above my pay grade, but I still think paid on profit is the best thing ever. But anyways, fast forwarding today, tell me about your team.
Yeah, so we've got a great team. We have so myself. I've got two junior loan officers that I'm kind of bringing up and mentoring, and they're really doing well, which is kind of fun to see them spread their wings here. I have an LP. It's actually two LP called loan partner ones. So basically, people that work on the front end of things for me. I've got a marketing person, and then we've got a couple of kind of processors, or we'll call them LP2s here. And that's the team.
Yeah, so you got a couple. We really truly draw that line at contract signing. So he has two people working for everything, working leads, working all the way up to when they sign a purchase agreement and prelims, and
Right.
then of course processors on the backside. What are you loving about this market today?
Well, what am I loving about it? That's a hard question, Chris.
I know.
Well, I mean, it's a challenge. There's no question about it. And I mean, so one of the things that's kind of nice about it is that we've been taking rate and just charging it headlong. We're not dancing around it. We're not trying to play games with it. We're definitely not trying to even outsmart and say, well, we'll do this now and then we'll refinance this, because honestly, we're taking the opposite approach. I just basically charge and say, yeah, rates are terrible right now. They're really high compared to where they've been. And so, reframing it right out of the gate, I think has been helpful. And then, not dancing around it, not saying, well, they're going to get better at some point. I mean, they might get, people ask me if rates are going to go down. I have this device on my desk that I use.
Yeah.
Telling them, well, you're in luck. I got this device. So let's just say it says signs point to yes. So yeah, you're in good shape.
Okay, well, there you go. Now we got the answer.
Exactly. Right. But I mean, just charging rates headlong and not dancing around it, and also not saying that, yeah, we're definitely going to refinance this in the future. I just say, hey, look, rates might come down. If they do come down, we're definitely going to redo this loan. But we have to go into this assuming that rates are never going to go down, that they're going to stay here or get higher. And I got to make sure you're comfortable with this payment, because you might be married to it for a while, and make sure that you're not getting out over your skis. And that changes the conversation. Then I'm not like a salesy person trying to shoehorn them into something that may or may not materialize in the future. I'm also not setting myself up to be wrong if rates don't go down. And we've seen that the last few months, a lot of predictions of rates. Oh, they're going to turn a corner. They're going to turn a corner. Well, you can say that a couple of times, but if you say it's going to turn the corner 5, 6 times, and finally people are like, I don't believe you anymore. So attacking like that, people feel cared for as well. They feel like we got their back.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, I've watched you grow some loan officers. I've actually, watch some of them actually just go on and like shoot for the stars. What do you think, for everyone listening to this call, what's your secret sauce in growing and making junior loan officers underneath you?
Well, I would say that's a good question. So I think about, like, I've worked with Brian French, who's now my manager, which is kind of strange. I've I've worked with Dawn Van Nieuwenhuizen, who is one of the top loan officers in the country, and she kind of came in. I don't know. We were always kind of side by side, but kind of showed her the ropes. I guess first of all, I'm not about I'm about empowering. I want to teach you the ropes, but I don't want to hold your hand. I feel like people need to stand on their own 2 feet, and I'm a big believer in the deep end of the pool. I'm going to throw you in there, and I've got you. I'm not going to let you drown, but I'm not going to wade into the shallow end. Let's get our toes wet. Now let's go with our feet. I'm like, we're going in. We're going to jump in the deep end of the pool, and you're either going to sink or swim. And I've had a few people that have just said, I'm not into this. And then I know right away if it's not going to work. But if they're willing to do it, if they're willing to figure it out, if they're willing to stand on their own Bambi feet for a while until they get their footing, I won't let them drown. I won't let them fail. I take that back. I will let them fail a little bit, but I won't let them die, if that makes sense. I think
you let them
have to
feel
give
like they're drowning, but you'll catch them in the end.
100%. Yeah. But I feel like until you do that, until you're actually trying to stand there on your own 2 feet empowered, you're always going to be living hand to mouth. You're always going to be going to someone as a resource, and you're never going to have the confidence to really blossom, So I say if I got a secret sauce, that's probably it.
I like that. You and I are kind of cut from that same cloth in that style. Let's get into some tacticals, and then we'll kind of wrap up too. But in today's market, you and I have been through some down markets together. Even though we didn't work at the same company in 2004 when rates rose, it was a different market because we had a lot more inventory than we do today. So in a sense, a little bit different. Right. Of course, 08, 09, and through that period, we were together, 17, 18, we were together. When we're going through this little piece of this correction and getting ready for someday, this next piece, what are you doing?
Well, so for one thing, we had this conversation this morning in our morning meeting, is trying to keep our clients and our referral partners focused on the right stuff. There's a lot of headlines that are out there right now, and it can spook people. So this is a stat I heard from a real estate agent earlier this week. I haven't actually read it. Of course, 57% of statistics are made up on the spot, so this might be one of those. But he said that the National Association of Realtors did a poll. They said 85% of the people that they polled said that now is a bad time to buy a house. And that kind of floored me, honestly, that it was that high, 85%. Our team meeting this morning, one of Devin was like, "Oh, I want to find the 15% then,"
right?
Which I get, but I'd rather talk to the 85% and set them straight a little bit. Like, what is are interest rates really a reason to not buy a house or to buy a house? No, I mean, interest rates affect how much house you can buy. They affect your affordability, but they have nothing to do as to whether or not you're going to buy a house. If you look back over the last 50 years and look at two charts, lay them on top of each other, the interest rate chart and home appreciation chart, it is a tale of two charts. The interest rate chart looks like this. It's all choppy, up and down. It's definitely had some ups, it's definitely had some downs. Last couple of years were super down. But if you look, 50 years, it encompasses the last time we fought inflation, which is, the late 70s, early 80s. And it's a scary little peak. People say, oh, we're not going to get any higher than this. Take a look at that 50-year chart and just remember that was the last time we fought inflation. We might be really thankful that we have 7.5% rates here at some point in the future. The other chart is the home appreciation chart. That thing just looks like this. Pretty steady, moving upwards, about 4% a year on average. Little dips here and there. 2008, 2009 saw a dip, and then it just kind of went back to doing its thing. So if you look at those two charts, you say, well, which one's the best time to buy a house? If you look at the interest rate chart, well, it has nothing to do with it, because if you bought a house when rates were high, you redid the loan when things were low. If you bought it when they were low, you're patting yourself on the back, say, oh, I'm so smart, But if you look at the other chart, the home appreciation chart, the answer is very simple. The best time to buy a house is as early on that chart as humanly possible, And for the first time you're considering buying a house is right now. It's like the old adage, when's the best time to plant a tree? 25 years ago, second best time is right now.
Right.
And that's exactly what the kind of conversations we're trying to have with people. So that's A.
What do they
B
say?
is
Like, what's the mindset? I mean, I think everybody listening to this call, you should just go ahead, print out both those charts, have it on your desktop, have it on your desk, have it laminated, have it ready. Like we talk about, I'm just thinking this mind, Mike. We talk about having a presentation, having ability to be able to walk a customer through this 85% that thinks now's not the right time to buy. And
right.
what do they say when you show them these two charts?
I don't have to say anything. The charts speak for themselves. Really, I mean, it's just like it's an obvious thing at that point.
Yeah.
You know? And I'll point out, well, if you bought here, then you refinance it here, and blah blah blah. You can do a little bit of that, but it's like it refocuses them, and it becomes that becomes the new narrative. Then they're just thinking about, and to me, that's a bigger deal. If people are spooked about getting into a house right now, there were people that were spooked about getting into a house during COVID because I don't know, because the world's falling apart. And now they're looking back and say, why didn't I buy a house during COVID? Because the rates are so good. And, I could have spent, $100,000 less to buy that house that I want to buy now. You know what? They're going to say the same things 5 years from now. Why was I so scared back in 2023 to buy a house? Back when the rates were down at 8%. God, I wish they were down at 8%. I mean, we just don't know what that's going to look like. But I do know that bottom chart, that home appreciation chart, it just looks like this.
And that's years of data.
That's 50 years. I mean, just take it back as far as it'll go. The St. Louis Fed has some.
You were born with that data. You were just born.
I was. Exactly. That's 50 years. Exactly how old I am. Right. God, thanks for outing me, man. Appreciate that. Just turned 50 this year.
I'm just thinking of this presentation to a borrower. And the borrower says, I'm just thinking about not buying right now. Oh, okay. So you're just thinking about buying a short-term house, like buy it for a year and then sell?
Right.
What's your thoughts? No, I want buy a house for my family, et cetera. Well, okay. Well, have you looked at the 50-yard chart? Because I get it. If you just want to buy and try to make money in the next 12 months, maybe you might have a story. But if you're trying to buy a house and you're going to live in it 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years, I think you need to look at this chart. And if I was a borrower, which I love real estate, so I'm always looking, I would be like, yeah, you're right.
Absolutely.
And also sharing our own story, like your story from the very first time that you bought your house, right? Mm-hmm. You built it for how much?
Well, so the first house I bought, I actually assumed my loan.
Wow.
And I'd never done an assumption. Like I've always
not
told
very many people have assumed loans.
I know. Yeah. It was a 7 3/4. And I was like, we're never going to see this.
Yeah. Right.
So I want this 7 3/4%, first time home buyer loan. And that's what I did. But yeah, I mean, but when we built the house, it's always a leap of faith. You never know. Yeah. You never know. So, get that out of the way. And I think the question that you posed a minute ago, that's the question we always try to ask our people right out of the gate. A, have you saved up some money? B, is your credit set up? Have you got good credit? C, do you have a steady stream of income? But the biggie, are you planning on being in this area for at least 2 years? 2-year minimum. If it's not 2 years, well, then maybe buying a house is not for you right now.
Well, I mean, A, it's a tax advantage, so you get to talk about that.
Sure.
For no capital gain. And then 2 is you get to talk about appreciation and an investment. I mean, if I'm going to invest in the stock market for long term, I know, there'd be peaks and valleys and maybe perfect times to buy, or I could look at dollar cost averaging and long-term haul. I'm going to win. And Correct. You could show a 50-year chart of the stock market and it'd look just like that housing market.
The thing is, 10 years goes by, especially once you have kids, seems like it goes by in like a blink of an eye, We built our house 10 years ago. We're looking around at it the other day and we're like, how could it possibly be? I still think of it as my brand new house. It's been 10 years. Like once you have a house, the time kind of slows down, or speeds up, I should say. So the odds of you still being in this long, again, if you're going to stick around, that's the question you got to ask. You plan on being here for a while? Like you said a minute ago, is this a long-term play? Well, then you should buy a house. Right. Why would you rent?
Why be?
And the net worth of people that own a house is something like 40 times higher than people that don't own a house. There again, I made up another statistic. I think that one's right.
Yeah.
It's some just like crazy multiple of the net worth of people that don't own real estate. So it's like, which club do you want to be in?
Right.
You know, maybe this isn't the exact right time for you if it has to do with, you know, how long you're going to be in the area. But don't let interest rates determine that. That has nothing to do with whether or not you should buy a house.
Yeah. Tactics. What are you doing to get business from realtors and builders today?
Open houses. I've never gone to open houses before in my life. Been showing up to open houses here lately.
What got you?
No.
Let's go back to that, because I think a lot of loan officers are prima donnas right now, and they think that open houses are beneath them. I've worked so long that I don't need to do that anymore. I don't know how people got that thought process, but I actually think they're fun. And, but what got you to finally do it?
I mean, I was watching my just production. I just like, I was watching the leads come in, and I know how many leads I got to have per day to keep
How
the
many
team
leads
fed.
do you need a month?
I need 5 leads a day.
Wow. Okay.
That's what I need to keep the machine going. It's been way down from there. You know, it's been like, you know, maybe 2.5 on average. So half of what I normally will need, which means, you know, if it's not just walking in the door, if the normal things aren't working, you just change the playbook, right? And try something out that's new. The thing about open houses, I have never really done them before. I was a realtor phobia. I had a realtor phobia when I first started. You know this story.
That's a bad disease, by the way.
It's a bad disease. Like I grew up in a white collar sweatshop doing only refinances for the first, you know, several years of my career. It was only refinances. So when I got the occasional purchase, I just bumbled it. I was terrible at them. And all I knew about realtors is they did not like me because I would delayed closings. You know, I was not good with handling purchases. I am now, but back in the day, I was bad at it. So I remember you first started working with you. You're like, you got to get out there, start talking to realtors. That was like the last thing in the world I wanted to do. So it hasn't been until the last couple of years that my focus of my business has shifted to pretty much 100% purchase, because, you know, what option did you have? Either you got to go all in on purchase or not. The thing about open houses, though, first of all, you're belly to belly to people. You're able to have that conversation. You're able to hear what those objections are, you know, like firsthand. And that has been really interesting. You're actually, you know, in the trench. You're sitting there with the real estate agent. I was at 2 open houses over the weekend, and with the same agent. The first one was pretty busy. The second one was crickets. Well, the first one that was busy, great. We get to actually have conversations with people. I got some leads out of the deal. I've been calling. I might get a one put together already just from that conversation last Sunday. The one that was crickets, I got to hang out with a realtor for an hour, and we actually got to know each other better, and we got to deepen our relationships. Like, that's the worst case scenario, is get to hang out with somebody.
Are you calling the realtors to schedule the time to go work the open houses with them? Are you just showing up? Like, what's working for you in the beginning? 1, and then 2 is that what are you doing to engage in conversations to get leads?
Devin, who is my junior, is the master at open houses. He is fantastic. Yes. And I've never seen anybody work an open house.
We need to get him a gold chain that says Master Open House.
Master of Open Houses. He's phenomenal. So I'm not above just asking I'm supposed to be his mentor, but he's way better at that than I am. So I just ask him straight up, what do you say? You know, what are your tactics? So he'd be the best person to interview on that front. I think you may have done that already. Have you talked to him about it?
I think we've done that in past issues. Yeah. Maybe it's been 3 or 4 months ago. We should update that again.
Yeah, because he's really good at it, and he's got some great tactics. But mostly he's engaging, and we try to engage people. I'm not I'm not a tackle when they get in the door guy. But what we did was we have had a basket giveaway that I'll bring over, because the agents are really happy to have something else other than just the sheet, and nobody's capturing their information. Nobody's having them sign up for anything. So we just have a little sign up thing. Hey, what you're interested in, do you want me to contact you for any of these categories? And people put their name in the deal, and then we reach out. I don't know why you wouldn't do that, but apparently that's a novel thing in real estate, at least the people that I've been working with. They're not capturing those names. And so that's been very effective. I feel like that's been working. As far as getting in with the agents, I'm finding that there's some agents that got into the business in the last couple of years that have never had to work. They never had to, to really, work a deal and work a client and kind of truly sell, and not sell in a salesy way, but to help guide someone through the process. That is different from just like, well, we're going to look at this house, got to put this offer in 15 minutes, or else you're not going to get it. That is the people that have only seen that are in for a rude awakening. So I'm kind of it's the wrong way to say it. I'm trying to connect more with more seasoned agents that have been through, that were in the business 5-10 years ago, that recognize what this is, which is it's a downturn or a pullback in the market. It'll come back around, but I want to go with the people who are working open houses. A lot of seasoned agents are going back to working open houses, and the ones that are, those are the ones that I'm like, okay, I want to be with you because you're a scrapper. You're doing what you have to do.
I like that. And I like you've picked your little spot where you think you're going to be good at, where you're going to connect with. And they all know you because you've been, doing mortgage for a long time. And Sioux Falls is a fairly small town at under 250,000 people.
Mm-hmm.
In a few minutes or less, I'm a loan officer. I'm listening to this, and I heard you say some things. And one of the things that I think that they heard you say was 5 leads a day, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which to some would seem totally unrealistic. But if I'm going to blueprint that out and I'm going to figure out a way to get to my lead goal per day, whether it's 2, 3, 4, or 5, what do I need to do, Kevin, to implement in my business to be more like you?
Okay. So, consistency, I think, is number one. Just figure out the stuff that you're doing and just do it religiously every time. One of the things talking about process, the process of how you do business, there are some silver linings to having a bit of a slowdown in your business, because it's very hard to work on your car if you're going down the interstate at 80 miles an hour. Right now, we're kind of at a little bit of an exit ramp. We can take a little bit of a breather. We can look at our car. We can look at our business and our processes and say, what's working, what's not working. Are there some things that I can one time? In other words, some things that I'm doing, over and over and over again that I can maybe streamline. I'm big on email signatures. I probably got 75 different email signatures that I've made. Seriously, I'll show it to you. It's like a whole stack of them, one for each different title company that I could close at. Every time I do a new one, I create a new email signature. Wow. Well, I kind of went through and figured out what are all the stuff that I need to communicate at this point to the clients. And I was doing it typing this whole thing out every time. We figured out, why don't we just write this thing once? Take the time, write the perfect thing with all the information that we need to communicate. And then I just do the drop down and send it. So what would normally take me 15, 20 minutes now takes about a minute and a half. So you can just get a lot more done if you're set up that way. So A is consistency. B is working on your processes and making sure that they're working the way you want them to work. As far as getting new leads in, it's got to be a mix. You got to be going to a mix of new people that you haven't connected with before. You've mentioned this before several times, that earlier this week, where like your dad's saying to you, why are you spending all this time and energy and money on trying to develop new relationships with people that don't know you? Why don't you spend that same time on people you've already won over, people that already like you, your existing client base? But you got to do it. You have to connect with your buyers, your borrowers. I got an email last night from somebody. This is a perfect example, where she said, the email heading was something like, "I never thought we were going to move again." Like that was the subject, dot. And she's like, "I never thought we were going to move again. I can't believe we're doing this, but I really want to move back to my hometown. And, we did this whole list of pros and cons. I know the interest rates are terrible right now, but honestly, that was the only con." That was the only side on the con list. And so, I mean, if we're engaging with our agents, and she flat out said, I really want to work with you. I really want to work with you on this. Awesome. Fantastic. I suppose I'll work with you, and we wanted to try to take good care of our people, but you want to make sure that you take such good care of them the first time around that they seek you out, and you can't just do it and then just, retreat and never communicate with them again. It's a matter of constantly, again, not like in a way that's grabby, but in a way that's just, I'm checking in with you. How's it going? Are you liking the house? I got a couple quick questions for you. I always ask this every year. A, do you have life insurance? Because I've lost people before that have, that once you have your house, you got to get life insurance. B, do you have health insurance? C, do you have a will? What are your real estate goals for the next 5 years? Anything else that you want to discuss, or any questions? Now, that's not something where I am asking for business necessarily right now, but it's amazing how often you plant that seed and 2 weeks later they happen to call you and say, you know what, we got to thinking about that. And if they don't have life insurance, they don't have health insurance, that's a referral you can put out to a business partner at that point, and eventually kind of grow that network. But if they do have real estate needs in the next 5 years, a lot of times those real estate needs, we've all seen this happen, where they'd be, well, we're not looking to do anything till next spring. Cool. The people that I've seen win in this market have gotten all their financing stuff buttoned up early. Let's get it all figured out. Let's get all of your questions answered so that when the right house comes along, you're ready to pounce. Mm-hmm. I don't want to wait until, next spring and have you then find the house that you like, then start the process. Somebody else snaps that house up from underneath you. Do you see any reason why that wouldn't be a good way to go? No, I don't. Okay, great. Let's meet up now. Let's get that rolling.
And they always buy sooner.
They always buy, like, I had some people in last week. They said, yeah, it was next spring. Well, they bought a house yesterday.
And, the average loan officer will say, yeah, I'll connect with you, or yeah, I'll call you in January. And I'm like, you are missing out.
100%.
There is something psychologically that goes inside our brain that, okay, well, I am approved. Maybe I should look a little bit more. And then all of a sudden, bing, the dream house shows up.
And you also have to remind them that they're a homeowner, that they're looking for a house. Sometimes you might have gotten them pre-qualified in the spring, and it's amazing how, you might go a little while without communicating with them. And then you call them, hey, I'm just checking back in with you. Are you still in the market? Are you still looking? Oh yeah, we're still looking. It might've been 6 months. And then they find a house like 3 days later. It's almost like you have to remind them, oh, that's right, I am a house hunter looking. Maybe I just need to go back onto Zillow or whatever they were looking at, It's
fun to be able to be the connector too. Like, you have a pretty big database. And, someone says, I want to buy a house for $500,000. I want to buy a house for $450,000.
Yeah.
And to joke around when you're making your database calls, to be able to say, you wouldn't want to sell that, would you?
Right.
And someone said, well, maybe. I got a customer right now, pretty qualified, solid customer that is looking for what you have. And magically things do happen just by us being great connectors.
Power of suggestion. It's amazing.
Power of suggestion. So listen, I got to tell you, this has been fun. 33 minutes went by like in 2 minutes.
Geez, we're already done. Crazy. Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
And I love the spot that you're at. I had no idea. I actually thought your league goal was 3. I had no idea it was 5, which is amazing. I know you're out there. I know you're marketing. I know you're working open houses. I know you're working your database. I know you're mentoring juniors. And I know you're a great family man and a great husband, which is the one thing I admire the most about you. You have done it right, and it hasn't been easy. Would you say that?
Yeah. Well, it's like anything else. Again, just keep doing the right thing, and it all works. It all works out.
Yeah. Listen, if you've enjoyed this talk, please make sure you put your comments down below. Share it to other originators in the country. We want to be able to grow Coaching with Chris. Our heart is that we want to help others. We want that, sometimes we need this talk. We need to listen to this piece. We need something to be able to get us to that next piece. I need it, Kevin needs it, and you might need it. So please, if you know somebody that would get a value out of this, make sure you get them to join. And if you have topic suggestions that you want us to cover, please put that into the comments so I can go get that. Even if it's like, please interview this person, I will go get that. Have a great day. Thank you, Kevin.
Thanks a lot, Chris. Thanks, guys.